Hi, Amber. I'm Peter Choate. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Good. So, Amber, I'm a social worker, and your child welfare worker, who by chance also happens to be Amber, has sent me a referral. And she's asked me to do an assessment of parenting with some consideration of domestic violence and perhaps mental health issues. That's questions that she's asked of me. I don't know that those are actually issues for you. And in her referral, she indicates that you have two children, and the children are presently in the care of child welfare. They're in a foster home. And I'll be asked, I want to know some more detail about the kids. But before we get into gathering some data, I want to go through a consent form with you so that you understand what we're doing and what are the limits to the confidentiality of what we're doing. Okay? So let me just, I'm going to give you the form, and in a minute I'll ask you to fill in this basic information, which is your name and your address and that sort of thing. But let me go through, and I'm going to write on the bottom here that what they've specifically asked for is a parenting capacity assessment, okay? And does that jive with your understanding of what Amber's asked for?
Well, basically, she just told me that that someone was going to be contacting me to do some talking about something so that I could have my kids back.
Okay. So she specifically in the assessment has asked for me to consider how do you do as a parent, and if there are some areas that could be strengthened, what could we do? And how are you at meeting the specific needs of each child? Are there any mental health issues? And are there any domestic violence issues? Those are the questions she specifically asked. So my range of recommendations can be return the children now, and there's nothing to do at one end of the spectrum, and at the other end of the spectrum, it could be, I don't think Amber could parent these children. And then there's lots in between. But those are sort of the two ends of the possible spectrum. That make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the process is, at another session, I'm going to ask you to fill out some questionnaires that are about you, your attitudes towards parenting. They're associated with mental health. They're associated with how you see the children. But today, we'll be gathering information about your family history. We'll be gathering information about relationships, education, mental health, and whether there's any domestic violence. We'll probably look at things like your work history and relationship history in detail as well. Okay? Now, the other thing I want you to know is what's going to happen to the information that you give me. Because a lot of the times when you go see a social worker or a psychologist or a doctor, you think of that information as just between the two people. But in this case, that's not the situation. Your worker, Amber, is going to get a copy of a report that I'll write to answer the questions that she's asked me, okay? And if there were a court hearing, then the lawyer for the Director of Child Welfare and your lawyer will get a copy of the report also, and so would the judge. And then it's possible that the court would appoint a lawyer for your children, in which case the lawyer for the children would also get the report. Okay? So there's this group of people who will see the information. Any question about that?
Nope.
Okay. Now, in addition, you may say, I've been getting therapy from so-and-so. I would ask your permission to contact that person so that they could help me understand if mental health were an issue. Also, I'm going to want to know how the children are doing at school, so I'll ask your permission to contact the school. Okay? I have separate forms that will ask for the permission for me to get that information, and I'll ask you to sign those so you'll know what I'm asking for and who I'm asking. Okay? Now, there are some other exceptions to confidentiality. If you tell me you're going to hurt yourself or someone else, then I would have to contact people to say, we need to protect Amber, or the other person that you might threaten. If you indicated to me that you were abusing the children, then I would have to advise child welfare of that. If I'm subpoenaed to court, then the subpoena requires me to come to court to talk about what we have been doing. Okay? If you were to file a complaint against me with a professional licensing body, then I would be entitled to show them the file in order to defend myself. Okay? Any questions about that? Now, it doesn't mean that your neighbor can go down to the court and see the record, right? It's still a confidential record in that respect, but there are these people we've talked about. Okay? Child welfare is paying for the process. So child welfare has asked me to do the report, but when we're finished, I will meet with you and the child welfare worker and we'll go over my recommendations. All right? Any questions about that? Okay? The other thing is that I'm a teacher at a university, Mount Royal University, and in here it asks for your permission to talk about your case with no identifying information at all. That's entirely your choice. You can cross that out if you want. But at no time would your identity be shared with anybody. I'm just talking general ways about your case. Any questions about that? Okay. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to give you the form and take some time for you to read through it and ask me any questions that you have before you sign it.
Okay.
Okay?
Can I use your pen?
Yep, absolutely. There you go. Okay, thank you. And we'll fill that front information out as well with your name. Okay. And you're how old?
28.
28, all right. And are you married or single?
Single.
Single, okay. And the home address that Child Welfare gave me on 58th Street is correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And the number that I called you the other day is the best number to get you at?
Yeah.
All right, okay. Great, thank you very much. Do you want a copy of this one?
No.
No, okay.